Okay, everyone, let's get going. Hope you can see me okay. We are doing chapter 4, and the reason I have all these pictures up here is these are all of the different covers that you might see for Babe the Gallant Pig. So you might have one of these books at home. I know I had two of these copies, these two at the top, in my classroom for you. And then I'm using the older version. The book is copyrighted in 1989, and it's changed covers several times. So chapter 4, You're a Polite Young Chap. After the last of the puppies had left, the ducks heaved a general sigh of relief. They looked forward to a peaceful day and paid no attention when, the following morning, Fly and Babe came down to the pond and sat and watched them as they squatted and splattered in the soupy green depths. They knew that the old dog would not bother them, and they took no notice of the strange creature at her side, excuse me. They'll come out and walk up the yard in a minute, said Fly, and then you can have a go at fetching them back if you like. Oh, yes, please, said Babe excitedly. The collie looked fondly at her foster child. Sheep pig, indeed, she thought. The idea of it. The mere sight of him would probably send the flock into the next county. Anyway, he'd never get near them on those little short legs. Let them play with the ducks, him play with the ducks for a day or two. He'll forget all about it. When the ducks did come up and out of the water and march noisily past the piglet, she half expected him to chase after them, as the puppies usually did at first. But he sat very still, his ears cocked, watching her. All right, said Fly. Let's see how you get on. Now then, first thing is, you've got to get behind them, just like I have to with the sheep. If the boss wants me to go round the right side of them, that's the side by the stables there, he says, away to me. If he wants me to go round to the left, that's the side by the Dutch barn, he says, come by. Okay? Yes, Mum. Right then, away to me, Babe, said Fly sharply. At first, not surprisingly, Babe's efforts met with little success. There was no problem with getting around the ducks, even with his curious little seesawing canter. He was much faster than they, but the business of bringing the flock back to Fly was not, he found, at all easy. Either he pressed them too hard and they broke up and fluttered all over the place, or he was too gentle and held back and they waddled away in twos and threes. Come and have a rest, dear, called Fly after a while. Leave the silly things alone. They're not worth upsetting yourself. I'm not upset, Mom, said Babe, just puzzled. I mean, I told them what I wanted them to do, but they didn't take any notice of me. Why not? Because you weren't born to it, thought Fly. You haven't got the instinct to dominate them, to make them do what you want. It's early days yet, Babe, dear, she said. Do you suppose, said Babe, that if I ask them politely? Ask them politely? What an idea. Just imagine me doing that with the sheep. Please, will you go through the gateway? Would you kindly walk into the pen? Oh, no, dear. You'd never get anywhere that way. You've got to tell 'em what to do. Doesn't matter whether it's ducks or sheep. They're silly and dogs are intelligent. That's what you have to remember. But I'm a pig. Pigs are intelligent too, said Fly firmly. And then ask them politely, she thought. Whatever's next. What happened next, later that morning, in fact, was that Babe met his first sheep. Farmer Hoggett and Fly had been out around the flock, and when they returned, Fly was driving before her an old lame ewe, which they penned in the loose box where the piglet had originally been shut in. Then they went away up the hill again. Babe made his way into the stables, curious to meet this, the first of the animals that he had planned one day to work with. But he could not see into the box. He snuffled under the bottom of the door, and from inside there came a cough and the sharp stamp of a foot, and then the sound of a hoarse, complaining voice. Wolves, wolves, it said. They never do leave a body alone. Nag, nag, nag all day long. Go here, go there, do this, do that. What do you want now? Can't you let me get a bit of peace? I'm not a wolf, said Babe under the door. Oh, I knows all that, said the sheep sourly. Calls yourself a sheepdog. I knows that, but you don't fool none of us. You're just like the rest of 'em, given half a chance. You look at us, and you see us lamb chops. Go away. But I'm not a sheepdog either, said Babe, as he scrambled up the sack of straw bales and looked over the barn. You see, he said. Well, I'll be dipped, said the old sheep, peering up at him. No more you ain't. What are you? Pig, said Babe. Large white. What are you? An ewe. No, not me, you. What are you? A ewe. Mom was right, thought Babe. They certainly are silly, but if I'm going to learn how to be a sheep pig, I must try to understand them, and this might be a good chance. Perhaps I might make a friend. My name's Babe, he said in a jolly voice. What's yours? Ma, that's a nice name, said Babe. What's the matter with you, Ma? Foot rot, said the sheep, holding up a foreleg. And I've got a nasty cough. She coughed. I'm not as young as I was. You don't look very old to me, said Babe politely. A look of pleasure came over the sheep's mournful face, and she lay down in the straw. Very civil of you to say so, she said. First kind words I've had since I was a little lamb. She belched loudly and began to chew a mouthful of cud. Though he did not quite know why, Babe said nothing to Fly of his conversation with Ma. Farmer Hoggett had treated the sheep's foot and tipped a potion down its protesting throat, and now, as darkness fell, dog and pig lay side by side, their rest only occasionally disturbed by a rustling from the box next door. Having at last set eyes on a sheep, Babe's dreams were immediately filled with the creatures. All lame, all coughing, all like the ducks, scattering wildly before his attempts to round them up. Go here, go there, do this, do that, he squeaked furiously at them. But they took not a bit of notice, until at last the dream turned into a nightmare, and they all came hopping and hacking and mawing after him, with hatred gleaming in their mad yellow eyes. Mom, Mom, shouted Babe in terror. Ma, said a voice in the next door. It's all right, dear, said Fly. It's all right. Was it a nasty dream? Yes, yes. What were you dreaming about? Sheep, Mum. I expect it was because of that silly old thing in there, said Fly. Be quiet, she barked. Nasty old fool. And to Babe she said, Now cuddle up, dear, and go to sleep. There's nothing to be frightened of. She licked his snout until it began to give out a series of regular snores. Sheep pig, indeed, she thought. Why, the silly boy's frightened of the things. And she put her nose on her paws and went to sleep. Babe slept soundly the rest of the night and woke more determined than ever to learn all that he could from this new neighbor. As soon as Fly had gone out on her rounds, he climbed the straw stack. Good morning, Ma, he said. I do hope you're feeling better today. The old ewe looked up. Her eyes, Babe was glad to see, looked neither mad nor hateful. I must say, she said, you're a polite young chap, not like the wolf shouting at me in the middle of the night. Never get no respect from them. Treat you like dirt, they do, and bite you as soon as they look at you. Do they really? Oh, yes, they'll nip at your hocks if you're a bit slow, and worse, some of them. Worse? Oh, I never heard of worrying. I don't worry much. No, no, young I'm talking about the sheep worrying. You get some wolves and they'll chase you sheep and kill them. Oh, said Babe, horrified. I'm sure Fly would never do that. Who's Fly? She's our dog here. She's the one that brought you in yesterday. Is that what she's called? No, she ain't worrying, just rude. All wolves are rude to us sheep. See, always have been. Bark and run and nip and call us silly. We ain't silly. We're just not so confused. If only they'd just show us a bit of common politeness. Just treat us a bit decent. Now, if you was to come out to the field, as nice and well-mannered young chap as like you are now, and ask me to go someplace or do something politely like you would, why, I would be delighted to do that for you. All right, that is the end of chapter 4. Let's click out here and we'll be talking about it more later.